Welcome to another episode of the All Pop No Culture podcast. I'm your host this week, Kevin. We have an interesting episode for you this week. We have kind of ladies' night going on. Jen and Kim show up this week, and they jump right in from the beginning with Magic Mike, which is a film that Andrew and I don't have a lot of perspective on. I haven't seen those films, or at least not recently. So the ladies get into that and talk about that. Kim talks about The Lincoln Lawyer. Jen talks Knock at the Cabin, which Andrew gets involved in. After that, we had a little talk about trashy television shows like Love Island and Love is Blind and things like that. Andrew then jumps in with a little quick discussion on Cocaine Bear, which he loved to the ends of the earth and back. And then speaking of things that he loves, Attack on Titan, which I have started watching, so I talk about that with him for a little bit. And then I talk about The Consultant on Amazon Prime, starring Christoph Waltz. And then we finish off the show with The Last of Us, episode 7, Left Behind, which, you know, we all enjoyed quite a bit. As always, thank you for watching. If you're listening on the podcast, thank you for listening. Don't forget to like and subscribe, tell your friends, share with everybody you know, have everybody you know share it. The more people we can get watching, the better. And enjoy the episode. I think it's ladies' night, at least for the beginning. We'll give you guys the floor and let you dance with Magic Mike and have a good time. I don't have a horse in this race. I know I saw the first Magic Mike, and I don't remember it at all. So tell me why I should love Magic Mike besides Selma Hayek. I'm already in, but
you want to start?
Okay. So Mike has grown up, I think. Like, the old original Magic Mike was like the Channing Tatum that we met back in the day, right? The pony guy. And this one, I was like, oh, I don't know. It's gonna be cheesy. And then, like, I don't know, what is it, like 10 minutes in, Jen, when he does his first dance, just like, oh, Mike has learned some things.
The first scene, like what I have set up the background here, I mean, it's just like, holy. My friend went with me, and then she took me the other day. She's like, I think I blacked out during that scene. It's like hard. You can't really spoil it, but I mean, he's like checking bookcases, making sure things are going to be holding them. And it was crazy.
I think, like, in the first one, it was more about they focus on, like, he's kind of showing off, right, with his dancing. And then this one, he is like catering to the women. But they do in the first one too, just in a different way. The first one's like really flashy and like young, and this one is like he's seen some things and he knows. I don't know how to
I think
describe
this one is like the least cheesy of the three, actually, which I thought this one was going to be. But I went back and rewatched the second one before, because I couldn't remember it. That one's actually hella cheesy, like really cheesy. But this one I didn't find as cheesy. I actually found it just more serious in a way, because even their dancing, like when they put the show together, it's like a more serious production. It's not so strippery. I mean, of course it is, but it actually aligns with the Vegas show some ways. Like, if you've seen the Vegas show, it's similar. Like, I don't know how to say without spoiling things, but it just aligns with it. There's a lot of similarities. I think the concept of it. And so I think they, obviously did that on purpose.
I have a question. Okay. So I remember, like, I watched Saturday Night Fever, like, way back in the day. We're talking like the year 2000, like summer, because I want to understand what this whole thing was about. I know that it was kind of like one of the movies that put John Travolta on the map, right? So, and I'm like, what is this movie about? Just a guy goes dancing Saturday nights and like that, like people care about that, whatever. Like, what's the plot? So is Magic Mike like a Saturday Night Fever type of situation where it's like there's dancing, but there's a plot around it and there's some sort of struggle that this character or characters have to go through? I mean, I just want to understand, like, give me like the MCU kind of summary, but for the Magic Mike world, if that makes sense. I'd love to just, and then also, I'm throwing a lot of questions at you. Like, do you have to see the other two movies to make sense of like the third movie, or do they all kind of stand on their own? You can answer that as however you want, because that was a jumbled ass question.
I mean, I feel like it stands on its own, but I think seeing the first one's kind of like gives the backstory of him, and because how this starts out is he's struggled, and so he has gone back and forth through, you know, jobs and stripping and trying to just always, you know, make ends meet and be on, you know, survive. And so basically the beginning of this one has him bartending, and he's working a party for Selma Hayek. And we'll say she hears some things about him and calls him in and tries to hire him in a way. And he's like, well, you know, that was kind of like my past life. That's what I used to do. And we'll just say he didn't take, you know, she made him an offer he couldn't refuse. And then we're come to this room right here, and that first scene just becomes like out of control. And then from there, she offers him a job. Actually, I don't think she really offered it. She kind of basically told him what he was doing. And they go to, where do they go? Is it London, Kim?
Yes. No.
I'm blanking where they're.
Like, I was thinking Paris, and I'm like, no, they didn't.
Paris.
They went.
Okay, maybe. I don't
No,
know.
they went to. Right.
And so she already has like a theater, and there's like some play going on, but she decides that after having this encounter with him and kind of him rocking her world, starts seeing that there's new hope for her show. And so decides that he is going to be in charge of that. And that's basically the whole story, is them putting this show together.
That's cool.
Am I missing
Okay.
anything? As
I
just
think
the general premise.
You can watch any of them and you will totally be fine. You won't be missing. The only thing they have in this one is some cameos from some of the strippers in the first movie, where you might miss that, but who cares? The first one was very like, the second one is hard to remember. I think the first two actually were very kind of tongue in cheek and silly. And it's, I think those actually might be easier from a male perspective to watch, because there's some of that humor in it, where this one is a little more, it feels a little more serious.
Yeah.
Where I think it would be harder to connect as I don't know, well, there are a lot of like male dancers, so I guess if you watch it from the perspective of appreciating like these super talented dancers who are all like just happen to be great eye candy too.
Yes.
And I know it's directed by Steven Soderbergh, he's not generally a comedic filmmaker, right?
No.
So I know, again, I do not remember the first one, and I know I saw it. But like, I think both Pete and Andy have said that when they saw it, they were actually surprised by the first one in how, I don't know if dark is the right word, but it definitely had its more or less comedic moments in it, and a little more backstory in it that made it a little darker than a comedy would be. I don't know how true that is. I mean, they could just be trying to
Sell us,
not admit that they were staring at Channing Tatum the whole time. But
I think there's some truth to that, and it's his struggle with, you know, his identity. Like, how serious do you want to be taken? And then can you find seriousness in your talent of dancing? And they really go there with this one.
Yeah. I mean,
That's
I still
hard.
think it's worth.
Yeah.
I think it's worth a watch. I always make my husband watch them with me. He would never go to the theater. There was one guy in the theater when I went, and he sat right next to me, and I felt so bad for him. But I mean,
maybe
I still
he's
think
gay.
at home, like, worth it. Maybe what?
Said maybe he's gay.
Maybe. I mean, or maybe he just got drugged there, and
that's true too.
Is this really Magic Mike's last dance? Did you feel like this was the end of the trilogy, or do you think they're going to keep making more?
I hope they stop.
I feel like it's the end. I feel like I know he really wanted it to be the end from some things I read too, but I feel like it was the end.
Dumb question. Is his name Mike? Is his name is really Mike? Like, okay.
Yeah.
Seems Magic Mike. Okay.
Yeah.
And this has been turned into a stage play, right? Like a stage musical?
It is, or you're asking?
No, I'm asking. It's been
Spoiler.
turned into it, right? They've done Magic Mike on
Vegas.
Well, they have the Vegas show,
Oh, but it's not related to the story. They just
how do I explain this? It's a show. It's like an interactive show. Like there's the story, and it is similar to what like the unicorn part and all that. Like they have that in the Vegas show, like where I'm trying to think about how to explain the premise. What was like the main premise of the show? Like, do you remember? I don't know how to explain it.
So that they put on this time, or of the
Yes,
whole
the show that they put in this time. So like they had the unicorn thing, and then it was supposed to be like women empower. It wasn't like a women empowerment, but it was like basically like women not.
Hit it tell like the it doesn't give it away too much to tell like the basis of the play that they decide to kind of redo and turn into this other thing
Yes.
was and I forget the name of it. And I don't even know if it's like a real play or not, but maybe like 1800s or early 1900s. And this woman's choosing between like the hot servant butler guy, maybe with the heart of gold, and the super wealthy guy that she's not into.
Yes.
And they're like, why is that the only choice? Like, why can't women have whatever they want? And then
That's right. Yes.
everything they want.
Yeah.
Right.
And so it's kind of the same at the Vegas show. And but in that show they pull you from the audience. It's very interactive.
I don't think I need to go see that.
Yeah, I don't know that you want to go to that one, but
Yeah.
it's fun with your girlfriends and funny. You're just laughing the whole time because it's embarrassing.
I mean that's perfect though. I mean, I think that's what you go to a show for, right? Is
Bachelorette
that-
party or something.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we went with like the dance moms and we went for dance nationals and
Oh, that's perfect.
just had a silly time. You know, one of our friends got pulled up on the stage, so we got to just laugh our ass off at her, and that was great. But yeah, I mean, I liked it. I thought it was good. The dancers are amazing. Like, I feel like there was more real true dance in this. It's not just pole dancing or thrusting. Of course there's that too, but there's actual legit dancers in this movie, and they were really good. They're
What do you-
auditioning and everything.
What kind of dance is that considered? Because all the guys were doing like it was like the first half of break dancing, right? Like getting to the push up or like upside. It's like they all had these big.
Yeah, I mean, they're all, I don't know. I mean, they all work at different styles too. I mean, some were more like b-boy, some were more hip hop, there was one guy that was like trained in, I don't even know, like jazz lyrical, something like that. The one that she wanted to hire,
Right.
he was like a dancer.
All like
But yeah, they were all really good. And then Mike put his spin on them. And then he also has to show them how to really do it. Remember that one scene? He's like, no, let me show you. And then you're like, holy shit, you know, he definitely has his ways of doing it.
So would this fit in with like, this also reminds me of like I mean, I never saw him, but like You Got Served and all that stuff. Like, is that, because when you talk about B-boy and all that stuff, like I think about the early 2000s movies, like, is that part of that too?
Those are more cheesy, I think.
Yeah, way cheesier.
Or Bring It On, but that was like, yeah, okay.
Or I can't remember the other ones, but
yeah,
actually he was in that one. He was in one of those. No, I mean, this definitely not as cheesy. Like I said, this was the least cheesy of the three, I felt. And the production of it was like the most serious and more serious dancing. Of course, there's the, sexual dancing too, but
I asked our friend, from our mutual friend Jody, she said she loved it. She saw it twice. And I said, what did you love about it so much? And she was saying that she just thought it was like this really erotic story, and asked me if I saw the foreshadowing in in her Selma Hayek's house with like these paintings with I think like a woman hiring a man to do some kind of labor or something. They're like, no, I didn't see that. And then so she saw it from like this other angle of like this beautiful erotic story, I guess. I rented it because it was like rainy day, right? And I thought, oh, $20 to stream this movie. I'm going to do it. And I'm glad I did. I do like, I feel like if it was anything less than what it was, I would be disappointed in spending that money. But I was like, I felt that was a good one to watch from your couch too, to be like, whoa, oh, this is good.
It was good. I mean, I thought it was better than I thought. I went in thinking the worst. I mean, it's like a third movie of them, and I was just thinking it's gonna be super cheeseball, but it was good. I liked it. I
Best
mean,
of the
not
three?
even just from a woman, trying to see all the sexy crap.
Trying to eyeball some Channing Tatum.
Yeah, even beyond that, I thought it was really good.
If you could somehow go online and see just the dance with Salma Hayek and Channing Tatum.
Yes. If they
So-
have you guys should go. You should definitely go watch that. He does things on this window. I mean, it's crazy.
If I watch it, I'm going to need a minute. That's what you're saying. I don't have to.
It's
Or
we
we
learn
I
learn
have
that
never
that's going to
seen
help us
any.
with our game. Like if we learn how to do that, like that's going to be like not
I
a
can,
gap
I
you have in
can
your repertoire.
unequivocally tell you I will never be able to do
Yes, Andrew. Yeah, you
anything that he does in that movie.
It looks
Like anything. If he walks into a room, I'll be like, I can't do that. Like
Little lip.
it's not.
I know. Yeah. I mean, I've never seen anything like it.
Word up.
All right, cool. So at least continuing with our ladies' night, at least a little more. Besides Magic Mike, I know Jen, you said you saw Knock at the Cabin.
Yep. Oops. Yeah, I saw Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, I almost adamantly refuse to see a Shyamalan movie in the theater until he proves to me he can get it right. But I am curious about this one. What did you think of it?
I came out of it not understanding if I liked it or I didn't like it. I wanted to like it so much, and there were things I liked about it, but it was confusing for me. I don't know. I still don't know if I fully have processed it. I know that you guys said that you didn't like the end, right? Did you like the end, Andrew?
So basically, I agree with you. So my reaction as well was like there were aspects of the movie I liked, and they weren't necessarily story driven. It was more just kind of like, I keep saying it, but like from a representation standpoint, I think that the movies are doing a good job of like showing people, in casting people in roles that you wouldn't have seen them in like maybe 15, even 10 years ago. And I think that's really impressive. That said, the ending has some like biblical allusions, like especially to Revelations and like the apocalypse, because this is an apocalyptic film. And, if I'd liked the movie more, like I would have bothered to actually go online and look it up. But the fact that I just haven't bothered to do it means that I wasn't that intrigued. But yeah, I mean, basically the premise is as you saw in the trailer. So basically it's this couple, it's a two men, gay couple, whatever. They've got a daughter, and they go to a cabin, which is already kind of like Andrew's rules of, see, this is shit that'll never happen to me because I'm not about that cabin life, but whatever, with no cell phone, like what are you doing? But anyway, so they go in this remote ass cabin with no help, just asking to be fucked with. Sorry. And then sure enough, like these randos show up with Bautista's like, hey little girl, like, take me to your parents, like that's weird. And of course she feels like there's stranger danger, but eventually like he's able to like calm her down. They, get to the cabin. Then he's kind of like, hey, I need to talk to you. Like, this shit's going down. And one of you guys, we hate to have to do this, but one of you guys got to like decide who's dying, because otherwise, like, the world's going to an end. And Jonathan Groff's character, like, he's kind of the more sensitive one. And then Ben Aldridge is more of like the kind of the alpha dude. But, and they're both the parents. And oh, by the way, Rupert Grint, as in Ron Weasley, is definitely playing against type here, which I like, because he's this kind of like rough, like truck cap wearing dude who's like, yeah, man, like he's kind of like he's the most aggro of the group, like he's just kind of like antsy about it, and then it just plays out from there. I'm gonna stop I keep saying I'm gonna stop talking. This is gonna be like the episode of me, Andrew, being self-conscious about talking. But basically, me as an audience member, I went with somebody else, and they were kind of like, it's funny how we were both like, the other person was like, I didn't think it was real, you know, and the whole time I'm more like Jonathan Groff's character, like, yo, like, I have an imagination, so maybe these guys aren't psycho, but the movie plays out from there. And every time, I'll just say this, every time, like, they say, hey, make a decision, and then they're like, no, we're not making a decision, then one of Bautista's posse members has to like kill themselves in a very fucked up, ceremonious way in front of the whole family. And it's like, what the fuck, you know? So the disturbance factor is super high. So either these people are just nuts, or they truly believe in what they're doing. And the craziest part is they all have this kind of like, they know what's going down, but it's one thing to know what's going to go down, and it's another thing to actually have it go down. So that I liked. So I guess thank you. I'm talking about this movie for the first time in my life, and I'm actually like, it's just flowing, you know, it's just flowing. So anyway, I hope that kind of jogged a little bit of your thoughts on it, Jen.
Yeah, I mean, the whole movie, they're basically trying to decide if they believe these people or not, and if it's worth them, you know, getting rid of one of their family members to save the world. I just felt like, so I mean, it was interesting to see them go through the emotion of that, but it still just seemed like not a lot of, you know, I mean, you're wondering about it, but it's just, it just seemed really level to me. Like it didn't have like huge ups and downs. Like
Right.
that's where it just lacked to me. There wasn't enough like twists and turns and suspense. And, you know, it just was, I mean, it also is filmed primarily in one room.
Exactly.
So it
You know,
just felt short to me in that way a little bit. And like I wanted a big, huge twist at the end, and it wasn't like that, you know. And so I felt disappointed in that way.
in a way, it almost felt like a play in a way, because I think it was more about the interactions of the characters and the performances. Like I do think that Bautista, I think he's a talented actor. Like I'm
I agree.
sorry,
I thought
like,
he was
you know,
fantastic.
he can be goofy, and this he seems like a genuine dude, but also just kind of nutso, and that makes him almost scarier, because it's like he's big and he's nice, but you know he's capable of some shit. So anyway, I gotta bring this in here. So I totally typed "Here Comes the Groans," Jonathan Groff's character as an ENFP, and Ben Alges' character as ISTJ. Okay, so ISTJs, the S's are all about concrete. They're not about that abstract shit. It's like, if I can't see it, hear it, smell it, or whatever, it's not real. Whereas the N is more like abstract. So he's like, okay, so maybe every time we don't do this, and then some plane just drops out of the sky, like, maybe that's not a coincidence, dude. Like, maybe the shit is real. And the Ben is like, fuck that. Tell me you don't believe this shit. And, you know, Jonathan Groff's kind of like, you know, and I liked that. So ultimately, I think where the movie wins is seeing how, you know, this couple has to grapple, because that's the other thing about couple. Again, I know nothing about this, right? But you know, when you're a couple, you guys can't make unilateral decisions. It has to be a joint decision, right? So it's like you see that push and pull until finally a decision is made. No spoilers, but a decision has to be made, otherwise the movie can't end. And it's just kind of cool to see how that plays out. And even the end, like, you know, and Jen, you'll know what I'm talking about, when they're in the car and like a certain song comes on, and then like it's like turn it off, and I hope I'm spoiling too much, and they turn it back on. I was like, oh, like that was just cool. Like,
Okay, see, that's the part I thought you guys said you didn't. I was like
I
trying
liked
to.
it.
Oh, okay, because like I loved that part, and then I was
Yeah.
like, damn, why did the freaking haters didn't like that part? That's what I thought you guys were saying. You didn't like that.
Oh, yeah, no, I
Okay,
liked
you're
it.
talking about what really happens.
Yeah.
Okay,
Like,
got it.
like
Now I'm
really,
clear.
because like what you said, there wasn't really a
Right, a
twist.
huge yes.
It was like, okay, so that's
So that's
okay.
that. Yeah.
It's like, okay.
So I did like I was gonna be pissed that they started like singing, because that was gonna be super cheesy, but the way
Agreed.
it all played out was was good in that sense. And I thought all the acting was really good.
Yes.
Like I did really think they all were good. I thought the other, I don't know the girl's name, the other, the chef,
Abby Quinn, I think her name is.
she
Or
was
maybe
like creepy in a way to me. I don't know.
Oh,
but
yeah.
she was giving me a creepy vibe. So I liked her for that.
no,
Because it was like, because it kept, like the whole time you kind of had to keep asking yourself, do I trust these people?
right.
Do I trust these people?
Yes.
And it's like her character and his character, you couldn't tell because they were super endearing. They were creepy.
Which makes it worse.
So,
Exactly.
It was kind
But
of weird in that sense.
but I felt bad for him too, because like what if like because it's like, man, like you could tell none of them wanted to die, you know, like they didn't want to do that shit. But like, you know,
They were
like
generally,
they
I
just
know. I
had
think it's
to.
worth a watch. I don't think
Thank
it
you.
was, it's like a theater
Not a must see.
must see in the theater, but
No.
I still think it's worth it when
Yeah,
it's free, streaming free at home.
exactly.
I googled it.
Or-
It was a play. It was a novel. So you guys should
it's
Google
it's a novel.
Mm.
different ending. It sounds like, or some different
Are you
happens.
serious?
Ooh, a different ending in the novel, huh?
Look that up.
Oh, Shyamalan.
Okay, well.
See,
Shyamalan.
now I trusted less.
Wait, Kim, just make sure. Did you say it definitely the ending was changed from what you Googled? Because
Well, it says what is when I like read what the difference is between the novel and the
Oh,
something a person something happens to a person. I don't know if it's a spoiler or not, but it sounds big. It sounds important.
mm.
So you'll have to look that
I don't
up,
think
Andrew,
anyone. I don't
and
think. I
Jen,
don't
and
think we
see
care.
what you think.
All right. Anyways, you
Okay,
should
well, we'll check
totally
it out.
say it if you want to.
Yeah, I'll forget. So you're not going to spoil it for me.
I'll have to
Nope.
bring it back. Sorry.
All of that. But if it's not, if you don't have it pulled up, then don't worry about it. I just thought you guys had it like ready to go.
I bet I can while you keep talking about it.
All right.
No, I kind of
Well,
lost
I think we
Don't worry
covered
about it. Don't worry about it. It's
I'm like,
it's
I don't
all
know if
good.
there's no much more to say about it, to be honest.
Okay. Then also, we could go with Missing. I think you saw that, but
Yeah.
Kim,
Did you see
you
Missing?
might also want to share. I think you said you saw it. I didn't see it, but I mean, I
I
think
saw it.
yeah. Or Kim could
Oh,
talk
I
about
thought, okay, I thought you were saying you saw it.
Yeah, no.
I liked Missing better than Cabin. It was much more exciting. Like just from, that standpoint. It was just more, had more twists and turns. It went by super fast because I was just so like into it the whole time. It's basically, do you know what it's about?
No, I was about to ask.
Okay,
Break it down.
so basically it's about Storm Reed is like the main character and she's 18, so her mom is going to go on a trip with her new boyfriend that Storm doesn't completely trust, and she leaves her home alone because she's 18. And so basically what happens is when she has to go pick her mom up at the airport when the trip is done, well, she shows up at the airport and she's not there. And so she tries to call where they went. I don't even remember what country they went to, but she starts getting really worried because she's like knowing that all their luggage is still there and things like that. So she's sensing something's majorly wrong. She tries to get the local cops involved, and they're not much help. So she decides she's going to start figuring some shit out. This girl is like a whiz on the computer. So like the whole movie is filmed in an interesting way because it's almost like her on the computer screen and then you seeing what she's searching for on the screen the whole time. And then you're seeing text and, Google searches and then her pulling up. So just watching her do this, which there is no way in hell an 18-year-old in real life is going to be able to do this. I mean, maybe, but I can't see that really happening. But anyway, I bought it with her and it was really cool just to see how she was putting pieces together and figuring stuff out that the cops couldn't even figure out. And so I feel like the end does have a really big twist that you don't necessarily think is whodunit kind of thing. There's like a couple people that come along and you're like, okay, they did it. Okay, they did it. They're the problem. But then it's like, nope. So I liked it. I love the whodunits. Those are probably like some of my favorite movies, and I thought it was great. And I guess I didn't realize there was a movie before it called Searching.
That's what I was just going to ask you. I'm like, I thought this was the same movie. Did it not come out yet? Oh,
No, so it's like the dad trying to find his daughter in that one. I haven't seen it. I didn't even know about it until I posted about watching Missing, and then someone said, "Oh, I think Jessica."
with John Cho and Deborah Messing, it looks like.
Yes. So I want to go back and watch that one now and see the difference. But I mean, I don't think Missing is something you need to see in the theater, but I think it's definitely worth a watch if you like the whodunit type movies.
Well, I
Cool,
mean,
yeah.
I just looked up Storm Reed, totally random but related. She's gonna be in The Nun too, Kevin. So
Is she really?
yeah, man. Yeah,
She's
And
everywhere.
everywhere.
She is, yeah, she's blowing up. I love her. I like her a lot.
Looks like Searching is available for rent, $3 or $4 pretty much everywhere.
Oh, okay.
If you have Fubo, it's free there, or if you have DirecTV, it looks like you can stream it on DirecTV.
Okay.
So yeah, so that one's cool. And Jen, anything else from you? I know you had like a laundry list of stuff,
Oh,
but
gosh.
like,
Yeah, I mean, I don't think we
anything
really
worthwhile?
need to. Oh, I don't think so. I've been watching you. I think we talked about that before everyone else came on.
Yeah.
But I like you. I think that's a worth, if you already have seen the previous episodes. Some people like fell off on the last season,
3.
but I think you should fight on and keep watching it.
Mm.
I think it's worth it.
The first 2 seasons, especially, like I know those ones I've watched, and I like them a lot. I think what's his face guy does a good job. I can't remember his name off the top of my head from Gossip Girl.
Yeah.
Penn
He does a
Badgley.
really good job. Penn Badgley, there you
Yes.
go. He is creepy as shit when he's supposed to be creepy, but he's also like, it's good because he's also kind of charming when he's supposed to be charming. Like, it works. And so it's an interesting series for sure. And yeah, if you don't have anything else, Kim, you have been on it forever. Have you what have you been watching besides Mr. Hunky Dancing Man?
You know what I watched over like New Year's Eve weekend, and it's an old series, old show on Netflix, but there is a season 2 coming out this year. It's The Lincoln Lawyer. Did you guys?
Oh
any
yeah,
of
it's
you
not
see-
that old, right? I thought that came out last year.
Okay, that makes me
Yeah.
feel better. But I was captivated because the main actor looked like my brother, and it's based off of a series by. It was like not my typical kind of show that I watch.
It was a movie. Matthew McConaughey was in the movie The Lincoln Lawyer, I think, right?
Yeah, so this was a series based off that. That was super good. I'm excited to see that. I've been watching. I keep trying to sell you guys on this show, Kunk on Earth.
Oh yeah. I don't talk about that because that's on Apple TV Plus, right? No,
It's on Netflix.
it's on Netflix.
It's on Netflix, and I met. Well, I didn't meet, but I first saw this woman. I was trying to think of where I placed her from. Somewhere definitely, something definitely British. I want to say maybe Afterlife, Ricky Gervais show.
Oh, that would make sense. Yeah.
I think that maybe, but anyway, she is this comedian who can deliver in like the most deadpan possible way. So she does this whole mockumentary on like the history of the earth, and it's so ridiculous and over the top, but it's like her deadpan delivery that totally makes it so funny. And there's I'm not great on selling it, but
Well,
if
it's
you-
okay. I can sell it for you, or I can help you sell it, and I'll tell you why. So thank you, Wikipedia. I don't care if people make fun of Wikipedia. It is the Alexandria library. You just have to know how to use it. In any event, Kunk on Earth is produced and written by Charlie Brooker. And if you have any kind of, I'll just say it, that's the dude who did Black Mirror. I'm already sold. Done. And the reason why he stopped doing Black Mirror is because after COVID happened, he's like, dude, we're living Black Mirror right now. So like, there's no point in making a weird ass show because we're living in weird ass times. So yes, Philomena Kunk is, what a weird name, is a reporter who, it's a mockumentary, right? It's by the Black Mirror dude. I'm already sold. Apparently it's gotten, yeah, On Rotten Tomatoes, it's 100% approval rating. But the average rating is 7.2. But either way, you love it. It's got Charlie Brooker. There's only like 5 episodes so far. They're each 30 minutes. Like, this sounds like
Should go
something
quick.
worth watching. So yeah, man. Thank you for introducing this to our lives.
Yeah, to me, I've seen the trailer and I thought it looked hilarious. It reminds me of the old school Daily Show interviews when they would interview people and they would just like, what those guys could do is what she can do, where they can ask these questions that are so almost asinine, but so straight faced that when like they put you in a position where you have to answer, but the question is so ridiculous, but they're like, they do not break. And it makes it so impressive because you're like, if I ask that question, I would just roll over laughing and they don't. And it's like a superpower. Like it's unreal.
Yeah, that's okay. Good. I'm glad thank you for helping Sal.
Yeah, I did see the trailer. Like I know I saw the trailer and it looked hilarious.
I try to show my kids and they're like, we don't get it. This isn't funny. I'm like, never mind for you either.
Yeah.
Doesn't that suck? Like when you're excited about something and like you show it to somebody and they're just kind of like, you're just kind of like, damn it. It's like
that's why I have 3 kids. There's a good chance one of my kids will like something I'm watching.
Have you ever pretended to like something that you didn't really like, but you just did it because you wanted the other person to be like, you don't want to hurt their feelings or whatever, or you actually wanted to kind of like impress them, but you really didn't like it? Like, have you ever done that? Is that weird to like ask? Like, but yeah, fuck it. I asked.
I'm sure I have. I don't remember what, but
I can't think. Yeah, in my head.
I definitely have. I mean, like as a kid, because I was a pleaser, so like I'll just say it. Like a parent liked something, and I'm like, ha ha ha. I mean, it's kind of like this is terrible, but like I just have to like you just want to like you want to make mom happy, But I didn't really.
I'm pretty sure my kids would not do that. They would just be like, no, this sucks.
Yeah. Yeah. My middle son will absolutely tell me that something is trash.
Yes.
Using that exact word.
Bombs left and right.
Yeah. He's like, no, that's awful. I'm like, wow, you're awful. Go to your room. But yeah. So there's that one, which I haven't watched a single second of it, but I can tell that I want to watch it. Like
I can't wait.
Yeah.
I watched the first season of the morning show, and then because I was super big at that, and then I don't want to start the second season. I've heard it's total, like I heard it described as a tire fire. Did you guys watch that show? And
I watched the first season. The first season was fantastic.
Yeah,
first season's awesome.
What was it?
The morning show.
The morning show on Apple TV Plus.
The leads are Jennifer Aniston and Reese Witherspoon, and they're like anchors on a morning show. And Steve Carell, and he's immediately from episode 1, he is being canceled for.
Yeah, I forget what he did, but like, yeah, everybody hates him. It's like he I don't know if he harassed somebody or what it was, but yeah, he gets booted out, and then Reese Witherspoon's like the hot up and coming news anchor that they bring in to anchor the show with her, with Jennifer Aniston, who is seasoned and pissy about it, and yeah,
it's a very post like 2 conversation.
Mm-hmm.
And the way they handle it is just phenomenal. But then I heard they like try to tackle so many things in season 2. So I'm holding back on that and watching Shrinking with Jason Segel instead.
How is that one?
It's very lightweight. It's okay.
Is
it's
it?
for guys, but it's entertaining.
Oh, that's too bad. Because it's him and Harrison Ford, right?
Yeah. It's good background. Well, no, I mean it's interesting enough to watch, but it's not, I think, anything that's gonna stand the test of time by any means.
Yeah, on Apple TV Plus, we threw on the first couple episodes. Eugene Levy has a travel show that he's doing. I forget the name of it, but it's it's close to that. But it's he's funny because he says it himself. He's an old Jewish guy he's too like paranoid to travel. Like he doesn't go anywhere, doesn't do anything. And like the first episode, he goes into the northernmost part of Finland. And then in the second episode, he's in the jungle of Costa Rica. And it's just like all the time he's just like, what, he's like, I don't do this, why am I doing, like, and it's so fun because it's true, like it's not him playing a character, or at least not entirely. I'm sure if you've been an improv actor for 50 years, you may not even be 100% sure who you exactly are. So I'm sure he's playing some stuff up, but
He said he's 75 in the first episode.
That's right. Yeah. He does not look 75. He looks so much younger. I've been watching Schitt's Creek for like the umpteenth time with my kids this time. And I love that show. If you haven't seen Schitt's Creek, you're missing out on that.
Yeah, the Reluctant Traveler is his.
The Reluctant Traveler. Yeah. And he's reluctant as shit. It's hilarious. So that's been fun to watch. If you like travel shows, I think it definitely fits a niche there. I don't think it's anything but a travel show. So if it's not your jam, then steer clear of that. Anything else that you've been watching, Kim?
A lot of trash TV. So there's a show on Netflix called Perfect Match where it's like a I don't know, kind of Bachelor in Paradise thing where they take contestants from all their other Netflix shows, the most popular one being Love is Blind, put them at a rented house that was also featured in F-Boy Island. I'm like, I've seen this house before. We're watching, and they have to like pair up, otherwise they get kicked out. Which kicked off another viewing of the first season of Love is Blind, which is just, if you like trash TV, that is just a phenomenal season with so much stupid drama that you just can't get enough of.
I always joke that I'm too classy for those shows because I watch Love Island and it's British, so I only watch the classy, trashy television.
There's an American version of Love Island, which is garbage. Don't watch that.
It gets better later because the guy that does the voiceover work on the British Love Island takes over as the voiceover on the American version. Trust me, I'm an expert. I've seen every single episode and every single season of Love Island and Love Island USA. I have not watched Australia, but don't count it out. I might just do it one day. I don't know why. I hate stuff like that, and I love Love Island. Like I can't not watch it. It's garbage television, 100%.
Try Love is Blind. That is gold.
I have watched some of that one, and I couldn't quite get into it.
Yeah.
I like I said, I think the magic of Love Island is Ian Sterling, the voiceover guy, because he's cracking jokes left and right, and he's kind of mocking the situation as it happens. So like that's what. Oh yeah, I love Great British Bake Off. I would not call that one trash television.
No,
that makes me happy.
I have a trashy show if you want to.
What you got?
A trashy show I can bring up. How to Build a Sex Room.
Oh yeah, I heard about that one on Netflix.
I think Pete talked about it, and that made it really disturbing, and I didn't want to know any more about it. But
did he really?
Just for a second.
I think it was me. If he did, I'll have to get his feedback.
I don't think you want it.
I haven't watched a lot of episodes. I only watched it because it's like interior design of a sex room. So that intrigued me because I'm a designer. But it's silly. I mean, you can have it on in the background when you're working or whatnot. But I think it's kind of funny because the designer is really silly and funny. She's like this older lady. And like when you meet with people, when you're, going to do a consult, you usually have your interview questions or whatnot. So it's like so funny to see her doing a design interview, but having to get into these people's minds. So she calls it her bag of tricks. So she get her bag of tricks out, and she's like pulling out like handcuffs and flogs and butt plugs and all these things, and like trying to like see how comfortable these clients are with certain things, and like they'll be like, oh yes sir, oh no. And then and then the contractor and her just have this funny little relationship where they're kind of like playing off each other and flirting in a way. Like they were doing a room down in like this basement, and they have to like go down this like ladder to get into it. They're calling it like a sex dungeon. And just like their banter with each other is funny. He'll be like, oh, can I help you down? Or, and then he'll be like, at her butt and stuff, and just silly stuff like that. So it's funny to see their interaction. But anyways, this is a silly show. So then you get to see their room they get to have fun in at the end.
So you
So
recommend?
that you're if you have that designed, and now like your uncle knows what your sex room.
Yeah, if you've been on TV.
Yeah, why these people like would want this aired to the world, I have no idea, but maybe they got it for free. I have no idea, but I don't pretend to understand the most people in the world anymore. Because
can you imagine seeing your parents on that show? Even at our age, you'd be like, oh fuck.
I know.
You'd be like,
it's
I can't.
Really weird to me.
I don't know those people.
I mean, and some of the people are like freaks. You can tell they're freaks, and then some people just seem like normal, and you're like, oh.
See, those are the real freaks.
I know. Yeah. So I don't know. I'm going to watch a couple of extras just to kind of see, but it's like, whatever. If you need to watch something stupid and whatever, have it on in the background and barely pay attention, that kind of show.
All right. So you guys had your time in the sun, and I'm gonna let Andrew go, but let Andrew go, but feel free to interrupt him. I mean, we never have a female perspective on here, so
exactly
we need it where we have it.
Absolutely. And this is unprecedented to have you both on the show.
I know.
Oh,
Finally. Okay, so I know Pete saw Cocaine Bear, so I'm hoping he jumps in at some point later, because I know that both you and Pete are all about the names. You know all these actors and where they've come from, whatever. And this movie certainly seems to have had lots of people that I'm sure are in other things, but I just don't know them.
The dude from Solo, he's one of the.
He was actually
Alden Ehrenreich.
Yeah, and he was the weakest link. So I don't know like what his deal is, but I feel bad for him because he's part of like the worst. I mean, probably the worst reviewed, worst performing horror movie of all time. That definitely stalls your career. And then the first two scenes you're in Cocaine Bear, you're also like, it just doesn't work. The rest of it does. He plays Ray Liotta's son, so just kind of taking a step back. Ray Liotta plays this like drug like cartel dude, whatever, and he's got people like in Mexico he has to worry about. So they're transporting these drugs on this plane, and the movie just it's a farce. Like the movie is, you just go to the movie theater to laugh your ass off. So they're flying this plane like in 1985 or whatever, and they're making the drop in the remote woods near Kentucky, so that that's how they smuggle the drugs in. But apparently the dude who's like flying the plane or whatever, like he's listening to music and he's got his parachute, and actually I can say this, he trips and he falls to his death. So basically it's like all this cocaine gets found in the woods. Now obviously the titular bear like has gotten into the stash, and the dude from Game of Thrones, the redheaded guy who was all about like the tall woman, whatever, I forget his name, but he was one of the wildlings. Like he's camping with his girlfriend, and that's the first like doo like Jaws situation where things don't go well. And again, I go see, and that's why Andrew doesn't go camping. Like I don't want my limbs to go flying everywhere, because limbs do go flying in this movie. And the worst part about it is when you see the limb fly disembodied, like you laugh. Like it's fucked up, but it's funny. So anyway, Carrie Russell shows up once again from Antlers as a mom, because she is now the mom, the go-to mom, and she's got two kids, and actually got one kid, and they're just doing their thing, but they're hilarious. They find the cocaine and start doing cocaine because that's what kids do when they find cocaine. Ice Cube's son, who looks just like Ice Cube, it's crazy.
Dude, yes, he does.
He sounds like him and looks like him. I would say he was definitely one of the strongest parts of the movie. But basically, Jesse Tyler Ferguson from I guess
Modern Family.
Thank you. He plays this like really like corny like camp ranger who this other woman named Margot Martindale, I don't know who she is, but she's hilarious. Oh yeah, she's also like she's
she's been tons of stuff. She's amazing, actually.
I figured you would, because she just seemed way too good to be not Like, no.
She's on
They're
Justified and The
funny.
Leftovers. Yeah, she's been around.
They're funny. But basically, if you want to see a movie where a really high bear shows up and is killing motherfuckers but it's funny, like when they die, this is the movie for you. The soundtrack is Mark Mothersbaugh, so he also did the soundtrack for I want to say Thor Ragnarok, and I think he's from some group from, I think, the 80s. Forget what, if people are gonna laugh at me, but an 80s group. I know Mark Mothersbaugh's from that group. It might be Devo or something. Anyway, great soundtrack. Man, I don't know what else to say. The movie, I think, actually dethroned Quantumania. I think the second weekend, or maybe came in
Yeah, it
number
destroyed
2.
it, actually. Yeah.
Wow.
So it did really well. Elizabeth Banks, woman director, like it's a great triumph for her. It's a riot. I mean, I really think that it's don't go in expecting like Citizen Kane. Like, this is not, you guys are talking about trash TV. This is trash
Yes.
movie. It's trash movies.
Rooting
But
for the bear the whole time, right?
yeah, it's just funny, man. It's funny, like funny violence.
What age would you
Oh,
say?
yeah, there's kids in the movie. Like, there's like legit, like, they're probably
Like a teen would be okay to see it, or no?
absolutely 100%. Yeah, I think
As
so.
long as you're okay with the gore and violence, right? Like, that's the thing.
It's gory. Yeah, there is gore. Like, there is definitely gore.
Well, I
But
mean,
like,
I've already ruined my child in that department, so.
then you're good. Then yeah. I think
I mean, I let her watch Bones and also.
Yeah.
Amongst other things, many other things. So.
Oh, and there's no after credit scene, but definitely stay for the credits. Like, there's like, as the movie's going, kind of like Cannonball Run or whatever. Like, I took it way back. Like, you see like more exposition of the film as the credits are rolling. It was just a fun, man. I remember seeing Stakes on the Plane, and we were all disappointed. We were ready to laugh and have a party, but the movie's actually kind of bad, right? But this movie was like, no, it actually delivered. It's Cocaine Bear, and this bear like is doing things like, and it's capable of things that a normal bear wouldn't be able to do, because it's fucking high and it wants the cocaine and it wants more. And yeah, if you have cocaine dust on you, like, it's curtains, man. You're done. So yeah, that was Cocaine Bear.
Finds his prey. If they're a little cocaine.
Yeah, I remember seeing this movie get announced, and I was like, "What the?" I was just like, "What the fuck?" I was like, "There's no way this can't be anything good, whatever." And then it turned out it was based on a true story, and that's when I was like, "Okay, now I'm in," because even if it's a complete mockery of the true story, and at least to a degree, I'm sure that it is. I was like, I have to see a movie about a bear that got high on cocaine.
Yes.
Like,
how can you not?
Yeah. I mean, there's
So
certain requirements in my life, and high ass bears is one of them.
So I just like, I think what just made me feel better about laughing is that, like, apparently like the bear didn't go on a killing spree. Like, that didn't happen. But like, I guess this Elizabeth Banks said this movie is kind of like a revenge film for like the bear who died from having too much cocaine. But yeah, so the killings didn't happen, but man, like, some of the, like, yeah, I didn't really spoil that much, but there's just one scene where I'm just like, man, that sucks. Like, you almost made it. You're so close, and then nope.
I had to look at that because I remember reading something on Twitter earlier during the week. So I found the tweet. It says, I assume Cocaine Bear is about a bear telling you for 2 hours how he's going to start a business.
Yes, I did see that
I
one.
did see that one.
Yes, funny shit. So that's one thing I saw. We can go back and forth, Kev, if you want. About,
I've only got one other thing, so if you wanna knock out anything else, I'll do mine and then just lead into The Last of Us.
all right, cool. Well, in that case, then I'll say, for the Attack on Titan heads. So basically, final season, part 3, part 1. That's really a thing. Part 3, part 1 just dropped yesterday. And obviously everybody that I know who's into it has already seen it. It's epic. and basically just goes far beyond like anything that even I imagined, but it basically feels like the end. And I love it when any story that is being told can take it kind of like the opposite of what Jen was talking about with Knock at the Cabin. Like this story just keeps ramping and ramping and ramping and ramping to the point where it's like, holy shit, this is like Armageddon level shit. Like we're not coming back. And that's what I've seen. I mean, I can only talk in abstractions here, but I'm very happy with it. But unfortunately, in the world of anime, because so much work goes into drawing every cell and every frame, we now have to wait until October for final season part 3, part 2. Hopefully, final season part 3, part 2 is the actual end, because at this point, even though I'll never have enough of this damn show, it's always good to know when to say when, and we can just end this, because I don't know how much more crazy you can get. Like it's you've now gotten to the point where it's just ridiculous. It's as in like the level of scale and epicness of the damn show. But yeah, I'll just say that if you like the show or watched it, like again, just let me know what you thought. But you know, it's still pretty much, I think, a niche thing. I don't think it's mainstream yet, unless you're an otaku.
I
But
have noticed that if you sign into Hulu, and maybe it's because the new one just dropped,
yes,
but it's actually on like
the main feature, good.
yeah. So it's maybe it's not mainstream, but they're trying.
Yeah, no, and I honestly, I won't be surprised if it does end up just blowing up by word of mouth, because the story is just too damn good. It's kind of like The Last of Us. Maybe it'll have a similar thing where there's going to be a lot of people who know the story for like years, and then finally something like maybe a movie or a film series or live action will break it through to the mainstream. But man, it made my life. I'm happy. There were some epic deaths. I got teary eyed because there's a character from season 1, frankly, who finally made their last stand, and what a last stand it was. They saved lives, but it was sad. So yeah, that's all I got. But I've definitely got some more gushing to do on The Last of Us. So that's me.
Watching Silent, the Attack on Titan season 4 part 3 official trailer, and it's like everything you just said, knowing nothing about the show, like, oh my god, that just looks epic and intense, and like that's a lot of feeling right there.
Well, good. I'm glad you got that, because it's like it's
See, it's funny because now I'm at the point where I don't want to watch the trailer
yes, you don't want to do any of that
because I've started watching the show. So I'm almost done with season 1.
Yeah.
And I mean, like you said, it's niche. Like it fits a certain audience. Like you have to be a fan of anime to a degree. It's not quite horror, but it's not your traditional anime either. Like it's more mature. You're dealing with a larger scale story. The Titans, the monsters, they're scarier in their own right, or at least creepy. A couple of them remind me a little too much of Momo. Not quite to the point where it fucks me up like that goddamn Momo, but like there, you can look Momo up in your own time. Please do not bring me into this. I'm not okay with it.
I'm good.
Are you talking about that freaky face thing?
Yes. Yeah, it really.
I had a bad experience with my child when she was younger, and someone showing her that.
Oh,
yeah,
word?
I am an old ass man, and it still freaks me the fuck out. So I'm
Wait,
with
we
her.
gotta pause because like for a second there, I want to dig into this, because the thing is, like, I think Momo's freaky and it's funny to me, but it doesn't mess with me the same way that it clearly messes with Kevin. So now I want to hear more. So wait, so it messed with one of your kids? I just gotta hear this.
Somebody like a kid. This is when she was younger. Like now, she would think probably nothing of it because she loves horror and stuff. But
I love horror.
yeah, like traumatized her. Like her friend showed her. I mean, she was probably like 7 maybe or something. And then she was like scared to tell me because she thought like she was gonna get in trouble because she like saw this thing on the internet, and But
this is like the jump scare guy that
the what?
creepy face jump scare guy that they'll be like, what?
No, that's Slender Man, I think. It doesn't do anything. It's just a picture of a
No, it's a
fucking
picture.
face, and it's
You know,
terrifying.
just go on your computer and just type in
I'm gonna do
Momo.
it.
Just do it right now. Do it right now.
I just have to see your
Oh.
reaction.
It's,
No, I want the picture to be really
I'm having
honestly,
trouble-
honestly, you might not be freaked out by it. Like you might
I'm
be
having
okay
trouble
with it.
remembering. what
Everything
it
is
even looks like.
subjective. Everything.
It's just like it's like a
it's disturbing to me. It's not like for me, it's not
Wow.
scary, it's disturbing. But yes, I never thought of it that way, Kevin. But you're right. The Titans themselves, like one of them looks like Santa Claus. Like it's like they basically the thing is that's part of the I think that the horror of Attack on Titan. But again, like it's not even the thing is it's not really about the Titans in the end. Like that's the craziest part. Like there's so much more to it. It's just but when it starts off, there are these like kind of like weird acting, like they run all funny, they have like they smile, but then they pick you up and they literally
they
eat
just
you.
eat you.
They bite into you, blood flies everywhere. Like
Yeah.
they're weird. They're fucking freaky. Okay. So sorry, Kevin. Like, thank you more for watching the show, knowing that it gives you Momoisms. Like that gives you you get more props for actually watching the show now, knowing that, because unfortunately you're gonna deal with that shit for like at least the next 2 seasons. But then by season 3, we get more into the actual humans and what's really going on. But anyway, I'm sorry, you were continuing.
Well, I think Kim, did you see Momo?
Yeah, sorry for screaming without like muting my microphone first. Yes, so it's like the googly eye, like ooh, yeah. Which is not, if you look at him long enough, he's not scary. There's just something jarring at first. Where you're like,
No, I will never look at it long enough to be okay with it. Like as soon as I see it, I'm like, oh,
all
fuck.
the things you watch, and that's the one that gets
Dude,
you.
I feel it like all the way through my body. Like it freaks me the
Wow.
fuck out. I can't explain it. Like I said, we've talked about on the show. Like I've been reading Stephen King since I was like 12. Like I've watched horror movies forever. Like
That's your limit.
That's
oh,
like if I walked around the corner and saw that, I would squeal and just run and like run into traffic. I don't even care. Like if I got hit by a truck after that'd be fine. I'd be all right.
Oh.
Like it's just I don't know what it is. I'll never be able to explain it. But
so if a trick-or-treater showed up, I'm not saying they should do this.
I would punch them in the face. I would punch them in the face.
I'm thinking more
slam the
baseball
door.
bat.
Yeah. Dude, that would be I would be in trouble. Like somebody would come and arrest me afterwards. I would punch that kid in the face.
Wow.
Unacceptable. Absolutely unacceptable.
Wait, I'm so sorry. I indulge me for a second. So, okay, so tell me more about your journey so far, though, with Attack on Titan.
Well, it's early, right? So kind of the same vein. Like I don't want to give too much away to anybody that might pick it up. I do think like if you are into, again, it's so niche, right? But if you're into anime at all, I think it's a must watch at this point. Like it's interesting because it does incorporate some of the newer art styles of anime that I don't enjoy, because I am more of a 90s guy in that regard, or before 80s and 90s, and I guess 70s if you count Robotech from the 70s. But it still works. Like they keep it serious enough where some of the modern stuff that's drawn the same way is also comical, and then it doesn't work. But it's violent, it's creepy. Like the stuff that's creepy is creepy. There's a little bit, at least in the first season, there's a little bit of political drama going on. There's there's mystery around some characters. Like it's the more you watch, the deeper it gets, even in the first season. And so I'm totally digging it, and it's been interesting because I've been watching it while I've been working, and my TV is off to the side, and I find myself, like, as I'm working, just kind of slowly like leaning this way as I'm supposed to be doing shit, and getting more and more into the show. So it's been really good. So I'm pretty stoked about it.
That means a lot, man. That really does. And I think that by the time you finish season 1, and then the first episode of season 2, I'm getting chills. First episode of season 2, by the end of that episode, you're like, wow. Like and the season 2 is only 10 episodes, but it just packed
really
much. Yes. And remember, season 1, 2013, season 2, 2018. So that's how long we had to wait for season 2. But when
that's rough.
Came,
yeah, that's rough.
It was like water in the desert after like a month or something. And I just was like, Oh, anyways, it gives me such joy. So I'm just so excited. Okay. Um, I wanted to go off into a tangent about what like freaks us out like tangentially, because of course for me it's the Annabelle demon. It's like not my friend. But at the same time, we shouldn't get too much of a tangent. And plus that might be a little much to ask to be exposed on a podcast. So we can either do that or the host Kevin can decide that we just do The Last of Us. So I'm
Well,
just
I got one more thing that I actually did watch.
for that.
So on Amazon Prime, there's a show called The Consultant. And the only like name is an Oscar winner. It's Christoph Waltz from Inglourious Bastards. I think he played Hitler in that, didn't he? Or he played
I
one of
never
his.
saw that one, but I did
I
see
started
Django.
it and I never. But anyways, he's a fantastic actor. And the premise is there's this company. They're a video game company. Um, the owner of the company dies, and they're or not the owner, the head guy. It's his company dies, and so this guy shows up, and he's like, "I'm the consultant. My name is what his name is like Regis Padoff." And he shows up, and he's like, "I'm the consultant. I'm supposed to take over and start running stuff." And he starts just changing the way everything works, but it's also like it's very bizarre. There's this the longer it goes, there's this supernatural intonation starts creeping up. It gives you almost like a devil's advocate kind of feel, or something. Like you're like, is this guy like legitimate? Like, is this guy the devil? Like, did this guy that ran the company make a deal with the devil and do it? Like, and so there's two main characters in the company. The dude I don't recognize. The girl was in the first season of White Lotus. She was the Sydney Sweeney's best friend.
Oh yeah, I liked her.
She's
Yeah,
no more. She's beautiful. Like
yeah,
I didn't, I saw her as a teenager in White Lotus, so I didn't like pay attention and see her in the same way. In
sure.
this one, she's an adult trying to make it. So she's 20 something, which at my age is still far too young. But uh, she looked more adult and prettier,
Yeah.
um and then she's really good, and it's just about it's not quite a good versus evil thing. Like the longer it goes on, and the way you see these people, especially these two characters, how differently they react to this change that's brought about for them, is really interesting. I want to say it's only 8 episodes. They're 45 minutes to an hour each, so you got to get into it a little bit. But it's Prime, so they're all there right now. So that's why I was able to burn through it in like 2 days, 2 or 3 days.
Hmm.
But it's good. The acting is good. The suspense is there. The mystery is there. Like trying to figure out who this guy is. It's not overly graphic. There's one scene that really stands out as very confusing because none of the rest of the show is like it. But there's a scene where it's a it's a blowjob scene between two dudes, and it doesn't make any sense. It's not overly graphic, but what's happening, and you can see it, and it's weird. Like it just doesn't fit the tone of everything else in the show. But at the same time, like, no, I think by the end of it, I was like, I don't understand why that scene was there. I think it was just there to make you uncomfortable, because of the way that it plays out, not because two guys can't do that. It's just really weird. Like it's a power struggle, a power thing that I don't know, just doesn't fit with the rest of the show by the time you're at the end of it. But it's good, and it ends in a funky place. There could definitely be a season 2 if they want to. But if there's not, like it ended in a fine place. Like if you watch it all and you get to the end of it, you would totally be okay with there only being one season. But Christoph Waltz is really good. Like I said, these other two characters are good, and it's interesting to see them take this very, very uncomfortable situation, this very weird situation, and one kind of rises to the top and one kind of loses his shit as it goes on. But it's good. It's really interesting and fun in its own kind of disturbing way, and seeing how everything kind of unravels.
It's so funny how my brain works because I'm reading up on the stats in the show. Jeff Russo composer, did the score for Star Trek Discovery as well as Star Trek Picard, which is amazing. Matt Shackman is one of the directors, and of course he was behind WandaVision. And then I debated saying something or not, but I'll just say it anyway, even though it's morbid. Dan Attias is the dad of this guy named Dave Attias, who unfortunately went crazy and mowed down 4 people at UCSB in, I want to say, like October 2000.
I think we've talked about this guy before.
Yeah, and that's his dad. So I feel bad for bringing it up, but I figured there's three connections that I just saw looking at it, and fuck it, I'll say it. So anyway, it sucks if your kid's like a crazy mass murderer, but hopefully I'm glad to see that he's still working, and hopefully can put that behind him. But anyway, so it's a good show.
Yeah, it's worth a watch. I mean, it's not the greatest show I've ever seen. I wouldn't put it up with like Game of Thrones and stuff like that. But I mean, it's a solid, 7 out of 10.
Okay.
Like, it's entertaining and it goes quick, and like it's not a huge commitment. And if it, like I said, if you make it to the end and there's no season 2, you won't be disappointed that there's no season 2. And if there is a season 2, you'll be really curious as to what the hell they're going to do next.
This is really weird parallel, kind of just theme type vibes type stuff. It's making me think of, and it's not same subject matter, but you're talking about the awkward scene that's in there. Like, is it just to make you uncomfortable in the power play? Did any of you see Physical on Apple?
No, I was curious, but that was about the Jane Fonda, right? About,
I don't know if I don't think it's about Jane Fonda. Maybe it's kind of based on her with Rose Byrne.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
And I don't remember who the male leads are. But she's like, it's her rise.
Murray Bartlett.
Is that the guy?
Murray Bartlett. I'm looking at it right now. Yeah, he's Vinnie Green in the show.
Okay, so she is this really kind of, I don't know what the word is, when she's just this kind of weak woman who is giving, who's under her husband who wants to be a politician, and she's just like given away her life to him. She has an eating disorder, and she finds purpose and power in becoming an aerobics instructor. And I don't know if that's the main, is the guy you're looking at, is he blonde? Or is there a different?
So he's the guy that's in. Oh wait, you haven't seen The Last of Us.
Rory Scovel, is that his name?
Oh, I know. I've heard of Rory Scovel. Yeah.
Oh
anyway,
no, I think she's
Rubin,
talking about Lou
husband.
Taylor. The Lou Taylor guy.
Bunny's
You see him?
husband?
Okay,
he's blonde. All right.
Okay, I'll have to take a peek. He is like this kind
Rose
of power.
Byrne is Sheila. So if Rose Byrne is Sheila, then Rory Scovel is Danny Rubin, Sheila's husband. So is Sheila the main character? Rose Byrne?
It is the main character. Okay, Rory Scovel is, yeah, that's who plays her husband.
Okay.
This other man that I'm talking about, I think it might be.
Then it's what Jen said. Lou Taylor.
Lou Taylor,
is it Tyler, a surfer?
Well, no, I'm thinking maybe Paul Spark. The more that I'm looking at, I don't know.
A mall owner. Okay.
Yes, he's the mall owner, and he's in this like the head of this very religious family, and there's power struggle, and I hate to I don't know if I can, if you guys are going to see it, if anyone else wants to see it, but because it's the last scene of the first season, but it's so awkward, and I have never ever seen a scenario like this. Their power play reminds me of this like awkward blowjob. That it's not that, but you just watch it and go, wait, what? On TV, like for real, you guys? So even if you go on Apple TV, fast forward to the last. Okay. That's one way to end a season. So
yeah, and to be fair, I mean, it's kind of what that scene is. Like, you're like, wow, like there's an impact to it for sure, but at the same time, like when you watch the rest of the season, I think this happens in the second or third episode. You just like, I don't know why it even happened. It's not even the way that it happened. It just didn't make sense in the rest of the show. So I was like, okay. But yeah,
I have a couple things I want to say real quick. Sorry,
All
before
right.
we get into Last of Us.
Oh,
What made me think about, I want to ask you guys if you had seen this. So when you talked about in Cocaine Bear when Ice Cube's son looks and sounds just like him, did you guys see the video of Paul Rudd and his son? I think they were at the Super Bowl.
no,
Oh my,
No.
you have to go.
I will.
They sound exactly alike.
That's cool.
Yeah. So just go
Oh,
anyway. We don't need to get into it.
No,
But
no, no. But actually, I want to
go
say one thing.
watch that.
So I think if you guys saw Straight Outta Compton, that the first time
Yeah.
time I saw Ice Cube's son was in that movie, and of
Yep.
course he plays Ice Cube. And the best part about it is like you totally buy it. Like he totally just melted. Like I was watching O'Shea Jackson. Like that's fucking Ice Cube. Even so, it's got to be an honor, but also a lot of pressure to play your dad in a movie about your dad, or at least
Yeah. Yeah. Where it's
character.
legitimately him.
Yeah.
Well,
And he's a fucking icon. Like, you
Yeah.
know, yeah.
But no,
he
When-
does though. Like it's crazy how much he looks like his dad.
I wouldn't say Paul Rudd's son looks like him when you
That
just look
sounds-
at him. I mean, they do, but I
Mhm.
think when he talks and like, then he looks like him. Like it's like
Yeah.
his mannerisms and things. But anyway,
Cool.
wasn't sure if you guys had seen that, and it's definitely worth a little quick watch because it's funny. And then the whole premise is like when they're talking about, they're like, is he like doing an impersonation of his dad? Because his dad's like laughing, so you like can't tell if he's trying to impersonate his dad or that's
Right.
really what he sounds like, and he sounds just like his dad. So go watch.
That's
You need to go watch it. It's funny.
It makes me think of the meme that's out there too, where it's Ja Rule and his son at his son's
Oh,
graduation.
yes,
And it's
yes.
like Ja Rule's son looks more like Ja Rule
Oh,
than Ja
yes.
Rule does.
Yes.
And
Yeah.
it's fucking
It's
true.
true.
Like you look at it and you're like, oh my God.
It is very
Nuts.
true. The last thing I want to say really quick is I wasn't going to talk about this, but now I realize since the new season is going to come out, Kevin told me to watch Yellow Jackets. I definitely agree. I got through the whole season. It's really good. And the new season is coming out in the end of March. So I recommend it.
Yeah,
too. I like
super
it
good.
a lot.
Little, possibly supernatural, possibly not supernatural. Like it's very kind of vague in what happened. Like it's a trip. It's a really cool way to do a story too, because you have this group of women that are grown up, right? And then this group of women, or sorry, it's them in their
Them as
teens,
they're younger. Yeah.
yeah, trapped in the wilderness. It's Canada, right? They're in the Canadian wilderness,
I don't even know.
I think. And you're like, at least some of them make it back, but you still don't know how they get back. And they've obviously gone through some shit, because when the show starts, they're like, yeah, we don't really talk about that.
It's kind of like Lord of the Flies-ish looking.
Yeah,
What
if
the
the
hell
kids
is going
if the
on?
kids got off the island after doing some crazy shit, like the opening scene of the show is some crazy ass shit.
Yeah.
And you're like, okay, well, these kids did some crazy shit. And then it jumps forward and they're like normal, living at home, making dinner for their kids. And
You don't
like,
really get to too much of that in the first season. So that's why I'm really intrigued for the second one, because I'm like, when are we getting to that? Like, what happened here?
yeah. Yeah.
And how do they get out?
Yeah. And it's a great cast. It's the girl that was just on The Last of Us.
Oh God, I'll
What the
look
hell's
her
her
up.
name?
Well, I know Juliette Lewis is in it.
Juliette Lewis, Christina Ricci.
Ricci.
Um,
Who else? I can't remember. I'm blanking on the lady's name from The Last of Us. Oh, Melanie Linsky.
there you go, Melanie Linsky, who I love anyways.
Yeah.
And she's great in it. So it's super good. It's
Yeah, I definitely
Showtime.
recommend it.
Showtime, right?
Yep.
I think so.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's
Yeah.
Showtime.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
definitely recommend that after Kevin recommended it to me.
Yeah. So if you're one of those sign up and cancel people, maybe wait
Right.
2 more months and then sign up for Showtime, watch both seasons, and then cancel.
Yeah.
Not that I recommend that. Showtime, I would never tell anybody to do that. If anybody from Showtime is watching.
Yeah, but you
But
didn't tell me that Rika Sharma from Battlestar Galactica is in this too. I liked her.
is she?
Yeah, man. Or it says reoccurring as Jessica Roberts, a fake reporter.
Maybe she's the reporter. Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's right.
She died a
Um,
unceremonious death in Star Trek Discovery. I'm like, seriously? You're just gonna like
Did
bring
she
her
really?
in? Yeah, it's like she died like first episode or second one. Like, what the fuck?
Hmm.
Anyway, all right. Okay. Let's get Elijah Wood's in it too. Um I I do this on the show all the time too. I'll have a thought and it'll just disappear. Fuck.
That's my
Um
whole life, man.
it's like I legitimately had a thought. It's gone. Um damn it. Oh, I remember now. Okay, so Lost. It gives me Lost vibes because Lost had like a plane crash, and you're also wondering, like, is it supernatural or is it not? Like, I mean, am I being a little too superficial with that, or like, do you think?
I don't know about too superficial, but this is way darker. This is
Oh,
way
Yeah.
darker.
good.
That's
Yeah.
why I'm
All
saying I
right.
think it's more, it gets Lord of, wait, did I say Lord of the,
Yes, you
You
did.
said Lord of the Flies. Yeah.
I said, okay. I was like, did I
What's
say
the Lord of the
Lord of the
Rings?
Rings.
No,
Yeah.
you're safe.
Yeah.
You
There's
No,
a
definitely
Lord
safe.
of
flaming
the
eyeball in the
Flies.
middle of the jungle. It's crazy.
Which there's
Um,
getting a remake of. You guys see that?
I don't know if it's a
Lord-
remake or if it's just more movies in that universe, and they're trying to bring Peter Jackson into it.
I know, dude.
Which,
Like, what a
if it's
cash grab,
stories
man.
outside of the main story, then I'm okay with it. But if they're actually remaking the movies, then fuck
But they're
off. I
like
don't
20
even
years.
want
But
that.
they're, I mean, to be fair, and I'm not defending it, but to be fair, it's like 20 years has gone by. It's crazy to me that it's
Yeah, but
already
they're
20 years
still
old.
perfect.
They are still perfect. But remember back in like, when we were kids or whatever, like these movies from the 60s we made in the 80s, and we're like, yeah, dude, the 80s one's way better. 61 was whack. Like, like thank God they remade it. So maybe today's kids, I don't know, but I think now, I think movie making is movies last a lot longer than they did. Like from the
Yeah.
50s to the 80s is a much bigger jump than from like 2000 or even 19. Actually, when you watch a 90s movie, you can tell it's a 90s movie. Like
Yeah.
there's like
Well,
Contact does not look, it's the effects are like
what helps Lord of the Rings hold up is the same thing that made Star Wars hold up for so long, is
practical.
that most of it's practical. You don't have a ton of
Yeah.
CGI and things like that. You do have some, but most of it's people in costumes and people in makeup and amazing location work and all that. So I think that's why that will hold up for so long.
I would take a Harry Potter remake if Alan Rickman was still alive. If he could do it.
Oh yeah.
Yeah,
I
I
like
can find somebody though, I think.
I think Harry Potter will struggle to ever be remade because everybody hates J.K. Rowling right now.
Yeah.
We talked about that like a week or two ago, and she just can't stop being a bitch. So, like she's the worst. Um, that said, I finished the video game, the new Harry Potter video game, and it was a lot of fun. What was kind of nice is that the things that people are upset with J.K. Rowling about are about the gay community, about the trans community. And in this game, there is a trans character played by a trans actor with a trans story.
Huh.
No.
And there is a gay witch couple in it also. So I think the company making it, they've said that she's not involved with the game. Like she's obviously going to get a cut of the money from the game because it's her property, but she wasn't involved with it.
I remember
And
hearing Dumbledore is gay, right?
I was just gonna
Dumbledore is gay.
say,
Yeah.
so basically her thing is it's not that she's anti uh LGBT, it's what I learned the word turf from her.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
she's a trans exclusionary radical feminist. So what
Yeah.
that basically means is that she believes that only women can be women. So if you are a man and then you
Mhm.
identify as a woman, she's like, okay, that's cool in the gang, but you didn't experience the oppression that a biological woman would feel. So, she just wants to make that distinction. And that's the issue because some people
Yeah.
are saying that's transphobic. You should acknowledge the person's, identity. But she's saying, no, I'm
Yeah.
a feminist and or a turf, and that's basically my position. And she won't back down. Which
Yeah.
again, what I said on I think 2 weeks ago was at some point, like I'm not Mr. Thought Police. Like I'm not one to say I personally don't think I should tell anyone how to think or whatever, right? But I do think you can look at the bigger picture and ask yourself, is your position really going to make the world a better place? Or like think about the big picture. You've done this Harry Potter thing. like just I don't know, like do no harm. Like that's my thinking. So it's like I don't know what you're accomplishing here besides, I don't know. I just think there's a bigger picture here, and I don't think that she's doing herself or the franchise any favors by dying on the hill.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, with regards to the game, it was fun. It was fun. There were some cool stories in there, some fun stuff. So Harry Potter is not dead, but it's also not technically Harry Potter. It's in the Hogwarts universe, but it's Harry Potter is not in there. There are characters that are descendants. Yes, descendants of characters in this show. Not descendants. What do you call it? Ancestors of characters in the show, because this takes place 100 and something years beforehand. So there's a Weasley, there's a few others names in there. But it's fun.
Yeah. I'm playing Destiny 2. New season just came out.
Oh yeah.
Like one of the top 1% players, right? So I'm like by adjacent, and I'm horrible at it, but I'm having fun. And then I started playing God of War because
Which one?
I think we talked about so I started playing the first one so I can understand the story before Ragnarok. And this was like not even on my radar until I heard one of the songs. I think it's called Blood on the Snow or Blood in the Snow or something like that from Ragnarok.
From Ragnarok.
By Bear McCreary, who is the composer for Outlander. And I was like, oh, that is like the sound of
Did you see the performance of that at the Game Awards?
God, with Hosier?
Yeah. Oh yes. Amazing.
Yeah,
amazing. For sure. And like they brought in authentic, like old school Viking instruments, and like it's dope. Like it is awesome. But if you're playing the first God of War is up there for my favorite games. I have Ragnarok. I haven't started it yet because I've been playing some other stuff. But the first God of War is excellent. So if you enjoy stories, the story in it is really good.
I do, and I'm usually not a story person in video games. My son is like playing it on kind of hard level, but they have this easy mode, which is just they're like, just try, just hit the buttons, and we'll let you.
Yeah. It's like the game is like, I'll help you get to the end. That's actually funny enough. The Last of Us, that's the video game, has modes like that too. And I play most games because I'm old now. My reaction time is not what it used to be. So I play most games on the easiest setting because I am a story guy. Like, so give me the story. But the first God of War, it's a great story. So you'll have some real fun with that. So I'm excited to hear what you have to say when you finish that one. And then hopefully maybe I'll start Ragnarok around the same time, and we'll share stories about that. So cool. So now that Kim and I had something in common, I'm going to have to push her to the side for the Last of Us talk, and she's just going to have to watch us talk about this show that is blowing up. Then she has no good excuse for not watching. It's there. Go watch it. I think
other than she's scared.
Yeah, I think if you can get through the scares in the first episode, you'll be fine. There's nothing as scary as the first episode after that. We are now in episode 7, which is titled Left Behind, which is named after the downloadable content from the original game. It's not part of the main game. So if you bought the game when it was released in 2013 on the PlayStation 3, Left Behind did not exist. You played the game through, you skipped this, didn't happen. And they released this content a few years later. I think they released it when it came out on the PlayStation 4. And it is backstory. It's basically a few weeks before the main story of Joel and Ellie starts. And this is the story. Effectively, I mean, it's the story of Ellie getting bit and us finding out why she's immune. But the story that they tell here is, as so much of the show is much deeper than that. It's got Storm Reed, who we've talked about, funny enough, 3 or 4 times on the show already, in a completely different capacity. She's obviously doing well for herself. She plays Riley, who is, at least in the beginning of the show, from what we know, is the best friend of Ellie, who is in her Fedra training camp. Riley has run away and come back and offers to take Ellie on one night of just awesome fun. And to be fair, for the majority of the episode, besides some emotional moments, it looks like a lot of friggin' fun in that world. You can go ride a carousel and go play some video games under bright neon lights. It's not a world where that exists. So for Ellie, it's, a pretty great adventure. I know how I feel about it. So I open the floor to you two to talk about it, and I will throw in my 2 cents as they come. But yeah.
To go first.
You go, Andrew.
All right. Loved it. It actually felt like, the innocence of almost like an 80s movie, I guess. What I'll start with first is, again, I'm all about who would I be in this show and would I make the same decisions? So I think of all of us is probably the closest to like a fascist, and I say that tongue in cheek, but I've always said if I was in this world, I would be Fedra, because I would want to actually try to like bring order and like make the QZ safe. So when the show opens up and you see like the kind of like supervisor guy, whatever, kind of like talking to Ellie and saying, look, like you have potential. Like, why are you getting in trouble? Like, we are the best humanity's got. And you have 2 tracks. You can either, be one of like the grunts and like patrol all day, be in the cold and have a shitty life, or you can be an officer and like be cozy, but at the same time get to boss around the people that are bullying you.
Yeah,
Ellie.
the shitty people around.
Yeah, you have potential. He sees it in her, and I'm like, so basically right away, if I was Ellie and Raleigh was like, come out, I'd be like, no. It's like, just be
Get
like,
the fuck out of here.
no, I'm gonna be an officer because fuck that and whatever. But that said, she goes, so they have this wonderful adventure. And what I liked about it is the whole time, like, you feel like the tension between the two, as far as like it's like a date, but it's not a date, but it kind of is a date, and it's just kind of like back and forth. And you feel that wonder, like when they go on the escalator and she's like, oh my god, moving stairs, and like Take on Me is playing. It's like I feel like, okay, this is like what I would have wanted to see like Ready Player One done. Like I want you to suck me into that feeling of wonder. It's a fucking mall. Like there's neon lights, like you said. They're playing Mortal Kombat. I watched like the inside the episode, and I'm so glad I did, because they even like pointed out things that I would have picked up on. And one of them was when they cast Storm Reed, they said we need to find someone who actually could like gain the upper hand on Ellie, because we see how Bella Ramsey is super talented, and but this Riley person is someone that Ellie actually kind of follows. So you've got to be a pretty badass to do that. So of course, Ellie's, I think, an ESTP, and Riley is an ENTJ rather. But anyway, I digress. So, but it's like you see this journey of these two having a very special night. And it's a great goodbye night. And it just made me appreciate like Ellie's character more, in terms of like, even when we finally meet her, when she's chained to the wall, and like Marlene's like, yo, like, can you count to 10 or whatever? Like, are you still there? Because like we literally meet Ellie within like days, I guess, of being bit. Riley, like, it reminds me of kind of like when I was being hard on the teenagers in Avatar 2. Like, Jen, you were saying they're just kids, so I'm just kind of like thinking to myself the whole time, like, man, like, you guys could have avoided all this shit. Like, what did you do, right? But I realized, you know what? Kids gonna be kids, man. So like, but this sucks. What a way to go out, like, because you did this. You had a great moment, but you're dead now. Oh, and I also loved like the reaction, the difference in the reactions, because Ellie's like, man, I'm bit. Fuck this, like smash, smash, smash. Whereas Riley's just kind of like, yo, like, we gotta make the most of this, and I really liked that dichotomy between the two. But it was just a great, again, character study. It was a great celebration of what matters most, and it was also a great like kind of tie-in to why Ellie made the decision she made when Joel basically told her to peace out, I'm a goner. She wasn't going to give up. She's going to go to the end of the line. So it was just beautiful storytelling. I could say more even about just the whole like puppy love shit, but I want to leave Jen some shit to talk about. So it was a great A episode.
I mean, I feel like you've covered it all. Like I had the very same reaction about I think they talked about it in the after part where they really needed to find somebody like strong enough, you know, for Ellie. And I completely thought that was so awesome. And I think she was perfectly cast, you know, like when she was like, you know, get your ass in the door, you know, when they were going to the mall, and, you know, she was like fighting her and all that. You know, she put her in her place where, you know, she gets put in her place by Joel here and there, but it was just different, you know, different with their relationship. But I thought it was interesting that you said that you would be Fedra or, you know, whatever you would choose. Because I feel like this whole time I would not choose Fedra. I would choose what's a rebel?
Fireflies.
The Fireflies. But I don't know. I think I'm just a little bit more rebel in nature, I guess. So I don't feel like I would just, you know, go be with Fedra, but where I lost my train of thought. In the beginning of the episode when he was talking to her and he was explaining about why she should, you know, what he sees in her, he was like pretty compelled, you know, like I felt like I could see being with Fedra a little bit more. I had more respect for Fedra, I guess I should say, after seeing him with her talking about it.
Yeah, because he legitimately like I was like, that's me. I'm sorry. I legitimately like, yo, like I'm just trying to like, you know, because the thing is, like he said, without us, humanity would just like tear itself apart, you know, and like we're here to make sure that yeah, we're not perfect, but we're doing what we can with what we have, you know, and he genuinely, I think, actually cared about her as a person. But what I liked about the reason why I typed her though as an ESTP is because also like I'm adaptable, right? Like yes, I'm a J, but I used to be a P and I'm probably a cusper. Like J's have a hard time adapting to change. Because they like everything like this, whereas P's are more about like, okay, it depends on the situation. So, you know, she was on the track. I mean, remember when she saw the grenades and then she was like, okay, I'm out. Like, you know, you are going to use those grenades on Ellie was on the Fedra track. Like, had she not gone out that night, she probably would have been Fedra. But because she loved, I'll say it, like she fucking loved Riley. And it was crazy how like you see Ellie as a follower because she is so not a follower, but she followed Riley. Like she was a follower and she felt abandoned by Riley. She's like her whole world was like a mess for the last 3 weeks. I loved how she said like, I think like you should talk to your friend. Like it was just sarcastic but perfect. Like it was a perfect balance. I think even as an actor, Bella kind of like reeled it in a little bit just to make sure that the dynamic played itself out the way it needed to. But again, the point of what I was saying about the whole Fedra thing was Ellie was about that Fedra life. Now I don't think she felt truly alive, but she also was like, she was kind of sold on it to the point where she was not cool with Riley being a Firefly. She did see the Fireflies as, kind of the bad guys.
Yeah.
But because of she's now bitten, she has no choice but to make do with her situation and be adaptable. And I actually feel like the Ellie that we see, even with that book, the joke book I think Riley gave her, it's almost like Riley, the spirit of Riley living on in Ellie. So that's also part of why I fucking love this episode. Such great storytelling.
The way you just said that makes me realize like why I'm feeling this way, like why I would choose Fireflies, because I feel like there's been things in my life that have have gotten me to this point of why I have to fight back and not just go with,
I already know,
so now you saying that just made me like realize why this is like the other side is feeling like I'm siding with them. That's cool.
Well, and what I like too is when you look at Fedra, a couple episodes ago, we have the story with Melanie Linsky, where shit with Fedra went bad. Like they were bad people. So you see that power can, corrupt, right? So yeah, they're messing stuff up. That they're hanging people, they're killing people. And to be fair, in the first episode, we see that happening in Boston. So even though this guy seems like a really nice guy and potentially like, so let's just assume he's genuine. He wants the best for people and he's trying to use Fedra to do that. There are people and the way that Fedra's doing things that maybe don't line up with that, because they're still hanging people in the streets. They're still doing all this stuff. And so Fedra's not perfect. The Fireflies aren't perfect. Like the closest thing we've seen to a functioning actual community
Colorado.
is Jackson, where Tommy's living. And even then, like you worry about new people coming in. Like if Joel were to just walk in and live there that day, he would be an outlier. Like he wouldn't trust people. It would be a different story for him for a while. So it is interesting to see these power dynamics and where things are. Fedra, I don't think that I would fit in with Fedra because of the hanging people in the streets, because of all that. And while at the same time, you see later in the episode, you see Riley complain about the job that she was going to have, which was guarding the sewers. The problem is people have to do these jobs. They suck. Like the jobs aren't good. And maybe she feels it's disrespectful to put her in a position where that's the job she gets. But people have to do that. Like they had to burn those bodies they were burning. In the first episode, and Joel was doing that and cleaning up and doing that stuff. Maybe it was the second episode. But it's still a job that has to get done. Like it's a weird world now, where if the Fireflies took over, at some point they're going to have people doing shitty jobs, right? Like it's interesting. Or the people taking over from Fedra, where Fedra was so messed up. Then you have Melanie Linsky's people who are going door to door like crazy people trying to find two people, because the one woman who was able to seize control and do everything is still a little crazy over what happened. Like she took control because she lost her mind for a bit, and you see where that got her and all of her people ultimately.
Dead.
So it's a crazy fucking world. And it's when you see the stories, when you see episode 3, when you see episode 7, with these kinder, gentler stories mixed in, that are truly heartfelt, that really make you feel something and see these things. I think it's really, really interesting.
So as a plug, actually, and now I have to do it, but I do have this like kind of post-apocalyptic like story I've had in my head for like decades now. And one of the things I always wanted to put together is, yes, like, okay, I'll say it. So I said before, I feel like I've said before, like 99.99999% of like dictators run it for the 0.0000001% who would actually do a good job. So my story would, that one dictator, whatever, he would have a section called the free zone. So yes, there is like Cerebra, which is like kind of like this, utopia dystopia, but there's the free zone, because he always knows there's a pressure valve for people who just don't like structure. They need to feel free. And if you don't give them their freedom, they're gonna fucking rebel and ruin it for everybody. So just let them have their free zone, and that's it. Go to the fucking free zone. But and we'll give you supplies and shit as long as you don't attack us, and we'll be happy, But of course the problem is, once that dictator dies, he just basically gave the next despot the entire world on a platter. So that's the issue. That's why you can't give absolute control, because human nature, like 9.9999 times out of 10 is going to be bad with it. But anyway, even though I'm actually almost defending my honor in this podcast, even though yes, I lean towards structure and Fedra, I'm not a complete dick. Like I think it's important. Sorry, I just totally spit. I think it's important, to give people their freedom, but I still think structure is super important because without it, it's chaos. And you know, if humans are bad at being dictators, then imagine humans just being anarchy. Like it's I I'll take the dictatorship over anarchy, because when it's anarchy, it's every man for them, or every person for themselves, and it's just miserable. It's like basically Joel in the Wastelands having to worry about raiders the whole time. Fuck that.
Yeah. And we'll see in the next episode, but shit's gonna go down. Like, this is gonna be it'll be interesting. It'll be a community that is very not Jackson that they're gonna run up against. And so that'll be, like I said, people that don't know the story are in for some shit in these last couple of episodes.
I have a question. So, did this whole Riley romance thing happen in the game too, or was this
Yes.
all? Oh, it
Yes.
did. All of it. Okay.
100%. As far as the story goes, I think in the original game, it may be a little vague, Ellie's sexuality. In the second game, she's 100%. Like, there's no question she's a lesbian. She's in a relationship, or trying to be in a relationship, ends up in a relationship. Like, it's definitely more. She is 100% a lesbian in the second game. Cool. It's a little trickier with the first game because she's 13 or 14. So I mean, you're safely discovering yourself at that point, I think. Although, especially in this episode, and I've only played the content I think once or twice, so I have to play it again for the Left Behind piece. But you see her multiple times in this episode playing it out in her head, like when she looks at Riley, the feelings that she has. At one point, she has them, and she's that close to making a move.
Yeah.
And when she doesn't, she's like, I can't. She's like, I gotta go. Right, because she's too afraid that she's gonna get.
It's puppy love, and I love that shit. So basically, the first time, like, they go to the Victoria's Secret, and then Riley walks off, and then she starts pruning herself in the reflection.
Yeah.
Like, yo, it's so cute. That was the first one. The second one, I think they're like laughing or something, and then they turn to each other, and then I think Ellie's almost expecting Riley to go for it, but then Riley's just like, okay, so like blah blah blah, and Ellie's just kind of like, And the third time, after like Ellie storms off, because Ellie's like, you know what, this is some bullshit. Like, you're gonna like grenades, like, I'm out, But they come back, and then finally, like, when they're kind of being real with each other, Ellie's just kind of like, fuck it.
Yep.
Puppy love, man. It's crazy how, and I'll say, like, even Attack on Titan gets to this. I feel like no matter what happens, like in terms of just like your environment, there's still certain universal human truths. Like, even not a spoiler, but like even on Attack on Titan, like one of the characters goes like, I cannot believe that we're having this conversation, even though like the world's about to end. Like, there's so much more important shit to be talking about right now, but here we are, like, talking about our feelings because, like, fuck it, like we could be dead tomorrow. So let's just get it out there, And I think that's cool, and it's realistic. I mean, we haven't experienced like world-ending shit yet, but I imagine, like, I wonder if world-ending shit would just make shit more, I don't know. Like, either would you put it to the side, or would it be brought out more to the front because everything just seems more real and immediate? I don't know.
Yeah. Is it more urgent, or is it not important?
Yes,
like,
exactly. That's the question.
Yeah.
I will
is toilet
say
paper
that
more urgent or not? Like, I'm sorry, I just like realized that toilet paper became a thing during, like, no one thought toilet paper was going to be like the thing during a pandemic. So humans are a trip. You don't know what's going to happen until like the shit goes down. I am so sorry, Jen. You were saying something.
Oh, it's okay. It wasn't nothing. I was just going to say that for Kim being worried, just being a little scared to watch it. Now that I think back to the mall scene, I was hella scared. Like, of the unknown. It's like, it's kind of like you're scared of what's going to happen. It's like something's happening all the time and it's super scary and gory to watch. It's like there are a lot of times where you're waiting for something to happen, and then that does feel scary.
After the first episode, I was like exhausted. I was like, oh, that was so much stress to just.
First is different because it is more like there, things are happening, and it's action. But
Yeah.
the mall, now that I think back, it was very like you were waiting for something to happen. So that was a little more intense now that I think back to it.
But you know what? Again, if I was a parent, I'd be like, see, kids, that's why we don't do things like this. Like, because just saying, dude, like that's what happens. So yeah, you go ahead, let your friends go ahead, be fucking kids, whatever. But this is what happens. Don't end up on the news or a milk box or carton, whatever. Like, just it's that universal thing. So if all your friends jump off a bridge, would you do it too? Like, it's like that's like I'm all about that life. Control the controllables, Riley. Yes, it was romantic as fuck, but come on. He just ruined Ellie's life. I thought for a second Ellie's gonna be pissed off at Riley. Like, dude, my shit was good. Now look at us. Anyway. All right, sorry. I just had to get that out there.
Yeah. So yeah, so again, another good episode. For me, there hasn't been a down episode. They've been different. Like I said, episode 3 and this one are more tame, for sure. They're telling a different story. To be honest, they're the 2 love stories of the show, right? Like, yes, this one is the puppy love, it's the young love and all that. And episode 3 tells, the story of love surviving in a world where it will be very hard for it to survive in. Yeah.
Which is interesting. I'm seeing people saying like, oh, another wasted episode. And I'm like,
okay, Jen.
You have to know the backstory. Like, this is like a huge episode of understanding her and where she came from.
A friend of mine, I wasn't gonna say anything if they're watching, I'm sorry. But like they're like, I like the show, but it's a little too woke, and I'm like, in my head, I'm like, what do you mean? Like Bill and Frank? And he's like, well, yeah, this last episode, you'll see. And I'm just kind of like, come on, man. Like,
well, and it's funny because people are putting that on the show, but all of these things were there 10 years ago.
I just don't really see it that way, honestly.
No, I don't either.
And I feel like there are a lot of shows where I do feel are very woke and they're like pushing agendas and things like that. But I don't know. I'm not seeing this show that way.
Human.
Yeah.
It's a celebration of humanity. So, and I gotta say, this friend is a huge Attack on Titan fan, so that's why I kind of like, giving him a pass. But I have to admit, like, I was kind of like I didn't really go down that rabbit hole conversation. I'm just kind of like, okay, but I don't agree. Like, he said that before I watched the last episode, and I'm watching it thinking, oh, is it because like Riley Reed's in it? Like, was the video game character not, mixed or whatever? Like, but whatever. Like, I think he meant more about the whole same gender thing.
Yeah. But she's definitely she's black in the content, so she's
so that's
black
all,
since the beginning.
So it's all there. So then he's
But there's also this thing where people are critiquing the show and the things that it's doing, who have never played the game.
Yeah.
Right. So this stuff has been there for, like I said, 10 years. Bill was gay in the game, so you can't say that they made him gay. Now, his story is very different in the game. They don't get into Bill and Frank's backstory, and when we do meet Frank, he's already dead in the game. Like, they had a falling out, and Frank left and then got bit and hung himself before he could turn. Like, that's Frank's story in the game. Bill survives at the end of his like level in the game, and you kind of ride off into the sunset, leave him behind, and you have no idea what happened to Bill. But for the most part, there's no reason to think that the story that happened in the show couldn't have happened in the game.
It actually makes it better for the viewing experience. And again, I think that the Riley thing explains several things. It explains how Ellie ended up in the Firefly camp. It explains even the little thing like with the book. It explains Ellie's kind of like how she ended up being from a Fedra military, whatever, to Fireflies. it explains part of her personality and explains even like why she decides to stick by Joel. So it's all about, like you said, backstory and context and character motivations, and it was brilliantly done. And yeah, I'm just sorry, like if you didn't like episode 7, like I don't know what to tell you. Like I really don't. I'm just kind of like, okay, we just agree to disagree on that one. Personally, I held back. I was gonna say something meaner, but I decided not to. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that is episode 7. Like I said, I'm super stoked for you guys to watch. 8 and 9, I think. 9 is the finale. 8 is going to be
Penultimate.
crazy. There's a big bad coming that is like our first. Well, I guess not first, because Melanie Linsky did a pretty good job too, and she got 2 episodes. David's only going to get the 1 episode, I think. But he's an interesting character for sure, and these people that are going to run up against are interesting. I'm really curious to see what the people that have never played the game but like The Walking Dead, see what comparisons they make here, because there are some parallels to the show and the game, but the game was first. The game did it before. Well, they did it before the show. I think the Walking Dead comics existed longer. But it'll be interesting for sure. There's some stuff, like I said, that exists in both universes. But yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm excited for everybody to see it. As I always am. I'll be watching it tomorrow night as soon as I get my kids to bed and watch it. And this one also, like I said, has the original Joel. Troy Baker will show up in this episode as a character. We still haven't seen, I know she's going to be in it, we haven't seen Ashley Johnson's part. It's believed that she plays Ellie's mom, so we'll see a little somewhere. We're going to see a little more Ellie backstory, and that was not in the game, so that'll be interesting to see. But it's a chance for Ashley Johnson to have her moment. I think that'll come in the final episode. But yeah. You guys have anything else before we say our nighty nights?
I do. Just one really quick thing. I love the fact that 2013 was a special year in both of our lives, because 2013 was the debut of The Last of Us video game, and it was also the debut of Attack on Motherfucking Titan. So I think that that's a pretty cool parallel, and I just wanted to say that for the posterity of the internets.
All right. Well, with that, I will say thank you to Kim and Jen for showing up. Hopefully you guys come back again soon, if not even just next week. You guys, I love having you guys here. For as pretty as Andrew is, having a female perspective that's not Pete is awesome.
I concur.
And yeah, so hopefully you guys will be back sooner rather than later. And with that, I will say to everybody at home, thank you for watching. If you're listening to the audio that I give to Pete, thank you for listening. Tell your friends, share us on Facebook when the episode pops up with all of your friends, and then tell your friends that have other friends to share with their friends. We would very much like to be seen by more and more people. So with that, have a great week, and we will see you next week.
That was awesome.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun.
We made history.
Yeah, this is the most girls we've ever had.
Oh, that's how you made history.
Yeah, most girls we've ever seen.
Okay, totally random, and maybe I'm being a little too like quote unquote white knightish here, but I remember like when I was at work, whatever. This is back like 2017, 2018, and it was very drilled into my head, like to like almost never use the word girls and say like women versus girls. I know I feel like maybe I'm doing too much, but I will admit it's definitely been programmed in me. Like I might even say like, yeah, I almost never say girls anymore. I don't know, like, but you know what? I don't want to speak for other people, and Jen's big on that. So like, am I right? Like what are your thoughts on that?
For me, I mean, I don't know. It does not bother me.
Okay.
But I don't have anything against a woman that it does bother, you know. I mean, it doesn't bother me. I say it. I'm guilty of it myself. So, and
Yeah.
actually, it's funny that you say that because the other day my husband was talking about a friend who always called women females, and he's like, "You
That's
shouldn't
the
be
same
calling
thing.
people females." And I was like, "You shouldn't? Like,
Yeah.
is
Like,
that
it's a
bad?"
thing. It's a thing. I also remember
Oh,
like when I was, because I at my old job, I would pitch on the phone and I would say, what's really important about these, these nurse practitioners is one, they're trusted healthcare providers, and number two, they're female. And like, nope, don't say that. They're women. They're not female. Like you don't
oh.
call, yeah, it's like, you call like an animal or whatever, like a female, but don't call a human woman as female. Like it's a thing. It's like, it's actually like, yeah, like it's funny
Yeah,
how these
I
things
had
change.
no idea. What do you think, Kim?
I don't know. I mean, it doesn't bug me, but it's weird when you think about it. Like, I wouldn't say, "Oh, there's a bunch of males." Like, make sure that they're male. Like, oh, women, girls, but I wouldn't be like, "Are there boys coming?" Like, because that's
Yeah, I guess when you switch it, it does seem.
yeah,
I just say guys, like
Guys is
yeah,
generic.
I say guys, and then that covers, I guess, any age. I don't know.
yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, it's just a thought, like because like also like I think that also like one of the things about just kind of geek culture in general that I'm super like sensitive about is just like I think that geek culture like does seem like a bit of a sausage fest. So when, you start getting that more kind of more balanced perspective, it almost like sometimes the dudes don't even know how to act. They'll be like, and we make a joke of it, like, oh my God, it's a girl, we got two girls, like, yay, like, whatever. But it's like, so I don't know. Now I feel a little guilty, but at the same time, I'd rather just like get it out there and just talk about it because maybe on the next like show summary, I might say it might just say women because I'll say this. Like I also have been showing it to people at work and I sort of kind of like worry about like, okay, this, woman coworker like sees like the caption, like, oh my God, it's a girl. Like, I don't know what they might be thinking. And because they have their work hat on, like they also might be more primed to look at that. So anyway, I feel super bad for like bringing this up again because Kevin's ultimately the one who's like making the captions, but I just figured maybe we don't say I'm not saying we don't say
Why
girls,
did
but
it
I'm
say
just saying we
girl?
think
Why
about it.
did the
Yeah.
a caption said girls before?
Oh yeah,
Oh,
totally.
I didn't even catch that.
Again, this is just me being potentially
Got it.
overly
I
optic.
will
Well, I
say,
mean, this
I'll just say
day and
dicks and
age.
hoes, and we'll have everything covered.
Perfect.
Raza.
Perfect.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm to the point where I just think everybody
Need to
is
relax.
way
A
too
little too sensitive.
sensitive, and it's annoying, and
Yeah.
yeah, that. So.
The two who bear a penis and the two that do not will converse thusly. Yeah, dude, I'm so curious about Barbie.
Me too.
I don't know how I'm going to see it when I have a house full of boys. But
Got to make it happen.
I don't want to be the weird old guy that goes by myself, though.
Okay, that's understandable.
I feel like, and I don't
We're giving
also
like
want to
some
be like,
pedo
yeah,
vibes when you go there.
yeah. Or worse, show up and be like, hey, can I get one ticket for the Barbie movie? Can you let me know if the theater's empty, please?
No,
Like, that's weird
you gotta
too.
pre-buy that ticket if you're gonna do that.
Like,
Oh dear.
yeah.
I know. I don't know what to think about it. I'm like, is this going to be terrible? Am I so excited to actually see it that it's going to be there? I'm going to make it
Something
terrible.
somewhere actually said it's Ryan Gosling's best work.
I know. I saw that. I'm like,
And I don't
can't
understand
even
that.
imagine.